Looking back on that summer of 2011, what memories do you have of it?
Uh, hmm. Fond memories. I remember, I think, feeling like I leveled up. I think that's the big takeaway was holy shit. All right, now I'm here, but also like be careful what you ask for because now the hard work really begins. You know, it's like I feel like I busted my ass in my career to get to that moment where I was finally recognized. But I knew, you know, you're only the rent's due every day. So I knew like, okay. I was slowing down. I wanted to take a bit of a break. I was on the road for a very, very long time. I was fortunate. I did every house show, every pay-per-view, you know. I was running hard for a very long time. And looking back on it, like 2006 to 2011, it might not sound like a lot of times, you know, but I mean, the international tours we would do and everything. And because I think I wasn't creatively or monetarily like satisfied with where I was like, okay, well, I can take 6 months off and then I can come back, you know, like, let me take a break. Let me take a break. And then lightning struck with the pipe bomb, and that whole situation to me was, you know, like just magic. And like we captured that, and it was like, well, okay, I can either go home and squander this or I can ride this lightning bolt, you know. And I rode the lightning bolt, you know, and like it really made me feel like I had finally leveled up to, in some of the in management's minds, I felt like I leveled up to the level that my ability was always at. Like I felt like I worked like this top guy, and I was finally kind of recognized as that for the first time. And with that came all kinds of other challenges and problems.
Sure.
But and as you level up, you realize there's more levels to go. But that's the main takeaway. That's definitely how I felt.
Awesome. And kind of going off of that, what do you remember about going out and delivering the infamous pipe bomb promo that turned the wrestling world upside down?
I remember. Now, mind you, the context is I'm still very much leaving, right? When
In your mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have no new contract. I'm looking forward to, I think the next day we were flying to like Australia, New Zealand, and it was going to be my last tour, you know?
Again, Australia.
Yeah. And I was told this unbelievable thing. I want you to go out there and air your grievances. No, you don't. You don't want me doing this, you know? And to bring it back, instinct. I knew if I told your dad this is what I want to say, he would say no.
Yeah.
Can't say that. Okay. I trusted myself because I think the thought was, you know, he's gonna swear, he's gonna get us fined by the FCC, he's gonna get us thrown off the air, he's gonna whip his dick out. I don't know what the, you know. My intent was never to do anything like that. Like in the confines of the television show that we do, I have too much respect for the business to go so far that I'm just burning a bridge for no reason, just to do it. I want you to go out there.
It needs to be meaningful.
I want you to go out there and air your grievances. Well, so, okay. Nothing I did or said was outside of what we did on our television show, right?
Yeah.
But knowing my instincts, saying things like New Japan Pro Wrestling, was
Right.
wildly provocative
At the time. Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the competition.
Because I think everybody knew the rules, and everybody knew a lot of it was just based on stuff that I knew would irritate Vince.
Sure.
If I said, "Hey, I want to go out there and talk about Paul and Brock, he'd be like, no, don't mention them. Okay. So I didn't. So I wrote up this bullshit and I gave it to him.
I'm going to say.
And he read it, and his only feedback was, "Oh, it's good. Just make fun of Stephanie." And I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Yeah, add her in there."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So
Thanks for taking
that-
it easy on me. I was just an idiot.
And the funny thing is like people will still like, you know, the Twitter smart fans will still argue about it. Like, oh, it was approved. It was this. It was both. It was approved and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was approved to a degree, and my instincts told me like, I'm not saying anything too bad. Like you can't, if he's going to be mad at me, he's going to be fucking mad at me.
Right. And you're leaving anyway.
That's fine.
And this is what he told me to do.
But it's not
Yeah.
like, I'm mad at you and you're just straight up fired. Although I did think maybe there was a possibility of that. And then I've had a couple of like flow state, out of body experiences in the business where, because like sometimes I put so much pressure on myself that I worry about the situation too much and I overthink it. And I almost over prepare because I think there needs to be a bit of like relaxed chaos. It's why I don't like to plan matches.
Right.
I like to go out there and just be like, well, maybe we'll do this,
Right.
but I'm going to be listening, and
'Cause it's a feel.
It might not.
Yeah.
100%.
It's feel.
A very difficult thing to get people to understand, because I remember the first time I started training, I remember my trainers would say, watch Sean and Razor. I bet they don't even talk to each other. And I was like, what? The fuck you mean? No, he probably just shoots him off. And when he's coming off the ropes, he sees that he's like this. So he knows he's taking a hip toss.
Right.
The fuck? It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, that's impossible. You can't possibly do that. And now I hide from people.
Right.
I'm like, stay away from me. I don't want-
Don't talk to me.
No, but the instincts took over, and I knew that I really felt super strongly about this is the way it has to be, and so I went out and I did it that way. And you know, when I came back, it was, I smell money, is what he said, and at the time, like that was the stamp of approval. That was it.
Sure.
That was everything right there. Taught me a lot about business, you know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's art, sometimes it's business. Actually, it's always business.
It's always business. Yeah.
Sometimes it's art. If you can
It's a
get to
performance art.
get to the point where it's also art, but holy shit, you're also selling tickets.
Right. Then
like,
that's the magic.
That's
When it all comes together.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I read the pipe bomb.
No, I was just.
Oh.
I was like,
I'm like, oh. So I read it. Yeah, the transcription of it before doing this today. And I was like, it's really not that bad. Like, it's funny, right? Perspective
Yeah.
and time, because in the
Yeah.
moment,
the context is
It was like-
very, very important, and that
Yeah.
goes to illustrate how old I am now. That at the fucking time, that yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't hold up. I don't.
It does.
I really don't know
because of what it meant
But
in the moment.
That thing melted people's TVs.
Yeah,
and
it did.
Yeah,
No one had ever done that. I mean, DX was controversial, right? And like reading the USA Network standards and practices, and
Right.
like that was very fun. And but nobody had at that time, to my knowledge, ever talked about like Vince and Paul and me, even though you were directed to, like, but in a shoot way.
but
Right?
right. But it also like
But it danced.
listen. I like you said. I'm
Yeah.
a student. It treaded the line.
yeah,
So
without crossing.
and then like it's hard for me to like toot my own horn and talk about this, but like when I see somebody say something like off the cuff and like like wildly negative about it, like, oh, it's not that great, like, no, like you don't get it.
Yeah,
You don't see what I did.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen more people post that promo, try to emulate that and completely miss the point.
Yeah.
and completely just think that they need to say people's real names or say these outlandish things, and that's what it was. No, that's not what it was. It was me talking about, I'll give people the formula. I will tell everybody in NXT, this is the formula. Go out there and you tell them 4 things that they know are true. And then the 5th one can be, I was born on Mars. And they'll be like,
Maybe.
well, shit, maybe this guy was born on Mars because those other 4 things he said were true.
Yeah.
It is nothing new. It was nothing new then. It is nothing new now. I would like to think it was all instincts and content and performance, but propped up by the oldest rules in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like I talk about Terry Funk a lot. A guy I don't talk about enough is Johnny Valentine. Johnny Valentine, even back in the 60s, would say that they all know this is bullshit. They all know this is fake. But when I go out there, they're going to point at me and go, but that motherfucker, that motherfucker is real. And that was the CM Punk that walked out on that stage at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas on that July day. And I sat down Indian style because I was just like, this is it. This is me.
Which made people automatically, when you sat down like that,
Yes.
people started paying attention.
Yeah.
In a different way. They were listening differently. This wasn't a wrestling promo.
Right.
Right?
That was by design,
Right.
purposely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, it obviously transformed so many aspects of the business and your career.
Yeah.
And man, it's remarkable. 15 years of Punk.
You know, when I was out of the business, I was obviously persona non grata, right?
Here, you mean? Or in general?
I think everywhere. I mean, I don't think the other place existed yet. And y'all did I think a top 100 moments of Raw or something like that.
Right. Oh, maybe it was a Raw anniversary or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
And you guys put the pipe bomb as number 1. And I remember
like-
being like, I am actually flabbergasted at that. Like, to be so good to make that moment what it was, to have him sign off on that and to make that the number 1 Raw moment it's, to me, it speaks volumes. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And forever.
Yeah. Well, somebody will top it. I hope somebody does. I hope there's somebody in NXT.
But nobody can
You know.
ever take away from that moment.
No, they can try, but again,
Yeah.
that's just noise.
Yeah.
You know, I trust my instincts.